Well, thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Recording in progress. Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to the Relatable Voice podcast. Today, the RV is speaking with John Pavon. John is in California, beautiful and sunny California. So, John is a business owner, artist, and an author. His latest book is entitled The Whirl Wind Man, the first time travel vessel. So, John, welcome to the RV.
Hi, Lucia. How you doing? Thank you
Hi,
for having me
John.
on the show. I appreciate it. Uh, yes, I'm a first-time author, and I'm real excited about this book. Not so much because um, I'm trying to make money off this, but I created it not for me, but for um, disaster relief. We
Mm-hmm.
have right now, because of our climate change, we have the tornadoes that are happening here in the U.S., and they've moved. So places where never used to have tornadoes are now getting tornadoes. People are not prepared. They don't even have sirens where it's going on. And it's a mess. And here's a scenario for you. Um, you wake up one day and you've got a house, you've got a car in your driveway. The next day you've got nothing. You don't have a house, you don't have a car. You're lucky if you survived. And
Wow.
there's nobody out there to help you. You have to prove you're an ownership of the house. You don't even have paperwork. You've got nothing. And there's so many disasters going on with floods, fires, and everything going on here in the U.S. that the Red Cross has got their hands tied. They don't have much money. You're lucky if you survived. And
Wow.
there's nobody out there to help you. You have to prove you're an ownership of the house. You don't even have paperwork. You've got nothing. And there's so many disasters going on with floods, fires, and everything going on here in the U.S. that the Red Cross has got their hands tied. They don't have much money left. And the Red Cross is a good organization. I volunteered for many years, and 80% of their work that they do is from volunteers like me. And I have many, many, many hours of volunteer helping out with floods, earthquakes, stuff like that, and doing using my own money, my own volunteer time, help people move to higher ground, to help people, get their house back in order, things like this. And so I decided because of I found out when the climate changes started, and I saw this evidence of the tornadoes changing their path. I did some investigation and I found out that there's not too many companies out there helping people that are victims of tornadoes. Very few companies are out there. So there's only one person that I know right now today that's helping people that have lost everything. And she's a woman and she's in the Midwest. And she sews these quilts, these beautiful quilts. And she goes out to the sites where they used to have their house and she waits. And when the owners come, she hands them a quilt. Now, she can't go everywhere, but she makes the trip on her own money, her own dime, to try to help out these people. So I'm trying to get the word out there that this is something new, and by buying this book, which is The Whirl Wind Man, and it's a story about these two brothers that grow up in a vineyard ranch up in sunny St. Helena, and they come across a whirlwind, and they decide to make it into a game, and they go chasing these whirlwinds, and they even create a vessel to go inside the whirlwinds, and they end up meeting a time traveling alien that can time travel in the apex of the whirlwind, and they befriend him, and they love these two brothers, and he teaches them all kinds of stuff, and it's really an adventure. And
Wow.
yeah, and their whole social structure, their family, their sibling rivalry, It. Uh, have you ever heard of an author called Isaac Asimov?
Yes, I've
Okay.
heard about
Well,
the author.
a lot of people know a little bit about him. He was one of my favorite authors. Okay. Uh, a lot of people don't know that he wrote many different genres, and he had a humor, and he did satire, and he wrote over 400 books. Everything you can imagine he wrote, and he his ambition was that he would be able to write in such a way that he would be able to uh, touch people by giving them the very first experience of a blade of grass, or see the blue sky, or catch a butterfly, the feelings of that. So he said that if you can do that in a book and a novel and reach every age group and they enjoy it, that is a beautiful day. Well, this book I think does that. It
Mm-hmm.
really
Yeah.
does that. And guess what? My publisher recently had submitted my book. I didn't realize it, and it now has a gold seal for literacy. So
Wonderful.
yeah, it's that's very hard to get. That means that authors, I mean, it, you know, what do they call them? Producers, movie producers, screenwriters should be interested in it. It's of above and beyond what most authors ever get in a lifetime,
Hmm.
and
And
so yeah, and that's what I've got.
and John, you seem to be so passionate about science and nature. Have you always been interested in science fiction?
Yes, I first started reading Isaac Asimov, I became very interested in it, and reading some of his other books. What he does is the way he looks at science is totally different. Okay, he tears science apart. He starts from the beginning and he says, "Well, what does this do? Why does this work?" And he takes things from the ground up, and he makes it interesting. And so every fascination of all of his work. One thing that is unique about Isaac, he's passed away now. He's no longer alive. He passed away a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
But he left a legacy for his family. They never have to worry about money now, because of all the books that he wrote and the way he marketed his work. And I really look up to him. I've read many of his different books. I've got many of them. They're hard to get now. They're very hard. Collectors got them now. But I've got several of his collections. And, even the experience of flying in a plane, for example, and you see the patch quilt of land and parcels, that is something that is unique, and and flying over an ocean and seeing the white waves and just the way the water looks, from an airplane is totally different.
Yeah,
Um,
and John, do you believe in time travel
oh
and why?
yes, yes I do. I wrote a series of questions and answers. Did you get those? No,
Let's
that's okay.
see. No,
I can go
I
ahead
didn't.
and go with these question and answers. What is the difference between a tornado chaser and the two brothers in your book? The answer is tornadoes are rated in EF ratings, where wind speed has no limits, and the danger of chasing them has no limits. Whirlwinds are not rated in EF ratings. They are usually much smaller and spin in a clockwise rotation. Dirt devils, which is similar to whirlwinds, except that they turn counterclockwise directions. Now, I just learned that we have on Mars we have dirt devils. And another question, number two: what is the difference between a time machine and your time travel vessel?
I'm curious about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So time machine, you do not have to be mobile. You do not need to move. A time travel vessel allows one to travel in time. It is designed to travel inside of a whirlwind. The latest current expert, Ron Mellett, agrees in order to travel in time, it must come from a natural source where getting close to E equals mc squared, you remember Einstein's theory? He experimented, this Mellett experimented with laser lights colliding to create a mini black hole. And he's got all the science and stuff, and he's doing that today. That's his latest science. Whirlwinds, exact speeds have yet to be rated. They can cause damage similar to tornadoes, just not as powerful. In the book, I talk about the two brothers. They experience the alien being that's in the apex of these whirlwinds, and he actually tries to find him, and they play hide and seek with him, and they hide in this shed and a pump house, and he ends up taking the roof off the pump house. And so that is a fact. That's what those whirlwinds can do. They can take the roofs off small buildings. Now another one. Why are you donating to disaster relief? The answer: I'm not a new author until I've reached. I didn't become a new author until I reached my 70s. I have donated many hours to help victims of disaster reliefs, local floods, earthquakes. If you purchase the book, at the same time you are donating to the disaster relief for tornadoes. How cool is that? You can join me on the fun. Many companies have made donations in hundreds of dollars and also in materials of rebuilding this second time travel vessel. So we have it complete now. It's totally ready to go. So it's let me tell you about it. It's exciting for me. It's got an interior dash of a B-52 bomber, a replica. It's got a viewing window. It's got two linear accelerators on the side, and it's got LED lighting in the inside. It's got a full weather station inside. You can tell the wind speeds from inside and outside the vessel. It's fully carpeted inside and outside and the bottom. And it's just really cool to see. If you go to my website, which is the whirlwindman.com, you can see it. Also, I got a blog site, which I want people to go see too, because it's got the latest picture, and it's called the Whirlwind Man WordPress.com. So just Whirlwind Man WordPress.com.
Wonderful. And John, there is something curious about you, that I know you are a ladybug expert.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah.
So,
Ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I've been interested in ladybugs. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask you, it's something that I prepared for you. So, how did this expertise come about?
It's just I'm what they call online expert. I haven't been trained in college or school for that. So ever since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I was interested in ladybugs. And you know how you've been fascinated by something when you were a child? Well, that never stopped for me. So as I got older, now I'm in my 70s, I'm still fascinated with ladybugs. In fact, my interest has attracted the world. So I get emails from people from all over the world about the latest news on ladybugs. I got a call from a DJ in Hawaii letting me know that there's a big tourist thing for their ladybugs over there. And so when the farmers plow up the fields, they swarm in from the mountains and they attack these root mites. So actually, these ladybugs are the most fierce ladybugs on earth, the Hawaiian ladybugs, because in order to qualify as a ladybug, you see, you have to eat the pests that eat the gardens, right? And on top of the earth. Well, these eat the pests under the earth. You see, that's why they're the most fierce. I could go on. There's over 5,002 species of ladybugs in the world. The latest one is a man-made ladybug, which the students from Tokyo were doing genetic engineering, and they took away the wings of the ladybug, genetically modified the ladybug to take the wings away. The reason why is because of the problem that people have with using ladybugs. They're available online, of course, but what happens is after they get through eating your pests in your yard, then they fly away, and people want them to stay in your yard or garden. So these Japanese students thought that they could genetically modify these ladybugs and take away their wings. Well, I wasn't too happy with it, and they asked me my opinion. They called me. They called me at home, and I told them, I says, although I admire you guys doing stuff like this, I don't think that the public's going to like the looks of them because they don't look very good without their wings. That's the main reason people buy them, is because they're bright colors and they're dots. And when you take that away, you take over 400 million years of evolution that they have for developing these wings.
Hey, poor bugs, they cannot fly.
Yeah. So the latest one, 5,002 species, was a ladybug called the C9. No, pardon me, it wasn't the C9. It was named after Winton. Winton ladybug is what he named it. Now here's something neat that you guys don't know probably. If you find a ladybug and you can't identify it, it might be a new species. And if you find a new species, you get to name it.
So yeah. I can have a ladybug called Lucia?
If you find one, you can name it Lucia if you find a new species. That's correct. Yeah. So what you do is you get a hold of the New York City. They have a college. It's Cornell University. Are you familiar with them? Yeah. They have a whole research team, a whole division to research the ladybugs. So you send them the picture, send them the GPS of where you found the ladybug, and they will let you know whether it's a new species or not. If it is, then you get to name it. They're looking right now for a species called C9. Now C9 is something that they gave the name to, but it doesn't look like the ladybugs you're used to seeing with the dots and the red. It has oblong shapes of black oblongs to it. So and it's a little bit it's a little bit more. It's weird. It sort of looks like the Curvasian ladybug. And Curvasian ladybug is the most friendliest ladybug on earth. It's equivalent. We know more about the Curvasian lady beetle than we do any other lady beetle. It has if you look at it, it's more oblong than it is round in shape. And it has a white line that goes all the way around its head. Yeah, and that's a Curvasian ladybug. It's a more friendly ladybug. They tend to stay in your yard or garden. So I did the research on it. 2 years of research. I created that ladybug house just for that ladybug. It turns out that almost every species of ladybugs like it, except for one species that doesn't like it, and that is the Asian lady beetle. The Asian lady beetle comes from Asia, of course, And what happened back in the 60s is in the Farm Belt, these farmers were farming, and they had a problem with aphids that were attacking their plants. And so they called the government. This is back in 1960, and before they had the pesticides that they do now. And the government didn't know what to do, so they called up the big chemical companies and asked them if they had something. They didn't. They said they'd have to experiment. So the government said, no, we're not going to do that. So what they did was they called an ag expert over, right? And this ag expert, they said, well, what insect is eating these plants? Which is, the plants were lima beans, right? What insects is eating them? And this expert, ag expert, I say quote unquote because he wasn't really an ag expert. No one checked out his work. He was totally wrong in identifying the insect that he thought was an Asian aphid eating these lima beans. It turns out it was a California aphid that was eating the lima beans, and any local species of ladybug would have handled that. But he told them that they needed to get Asian lady beetles to eat these Asian aphids. So for 2 decades, they imported these Asian aphids, Asian ladybugs into the United States. So many for so long that over in the Midwest, they've invaded people's homes. Certain times of the year, you can't hardly go outside. And also our neighbor in Canada, they've gotten over there, and on the border towns, people go out, sit outside to have a cup of coffee, and you can't sit out there without having these Asian ladybugs fly in your coffee or in your hair. So it's a big problem. So two decades have gone by trying to get rid of these Asian ladybugs that our government put in there, and they've been pretty successful. So what they've done is they created all these traps and all these new seals on windows and doors, and they've kept these Asian lady beetles out, right? Well, which is good for everybody, but they're still out there. So they needed to go someplace. So guess where they went? Take a wild guess.
Let's see. I don't know.
Your dog's mouth. So
No.
if you take your dog outside during that season, when they're going in the houses, they'll attach themselves to the underside of your dog's mouth, and then you have to take them to the vet and have them pulled off. Also, this Asian lady beetle bites, unlike the other ladybugs. It doesn't hurt too much, but it does bite. So it is biting the inside of that dog, and they're in pain. So you could thank the government for that. So back when Trump was in office, his administration was trying to import Asian wasp. The reason why they were doing that, quote unquote, is to get rid of the stink bug population. And the reason why I found out about it is because one of these government experts likes to brag, and they were bragging to one of the other experts online. And so they went on YouTube's and did videos telling them what they were planning on doing. So what the government was planning on doing was importing all these Asian wasps and into the United States to eat these Asian, not Asian, but these stink bugs. And it didn't need to happen. And the big problem I saw is that a lot of people are allergic to these Asian wasp, and they would die from it. And then they also eat ladybugs. So the Asian wasp would be eating all of our local species of ladybugs. We wouldn't have any more ladybugs. They eat bees too. So we'd really be having a problem with that. And thank God he's not in office anymore, and those people are not doing it now.
Yes, interesting. And John, you were talking about your book, The Whirl Wind Man.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners where we can find your book?
Yes, it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and I've got an audio book with this made out too, and those are all the. It's available in audio book on all the outlets for that. So it's available any place. You just type it in Google, and you'll see many places where you can buy them. They're originally I wanted them for $19.99 because of the donation for the tornado victims. But my publisher said no, we better reduce it. So they've got it for $10.99, which is a good price. So it's like half price, and yeah, so
And,
yeah,
and
it's a good
I'm
cause.
sure, yes, and I'm sure you will be helping many people this great problem. So, and I am going to check out your book, of
Yes.
course. And of course, I will leave a review because reviews are gold.
Well, thank you, Lucy. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Recording in progress. Hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to the Relatable Voice podcast. Today, the RV is speaking with John Pavol. John is in California, beautiful and sunny California.